Hi guys, it's Nanette speaking. So Lourdes asked me a little while ago about the jewelry pieces that we've made, how to do them. So I'm going to quickly explain it, and then if you guys have got any questions, I'm happy to do a full tutorial. But I thought I'll just quickly give you an explanation of how they're made. So firstly, you can buy these little these rings and pendants, so basically blanks, we call them blanks, from any craft store or yeah, just your local art supply store. You can also find them online, so if you struggle to get some, just let me know and I'll share some links. So you get them in different designs. There's quite a couple. This is some earrings. So then what I do is I normally use offcut pieces that we've done from classes when we've, I don't know, so these ones we've just done stencil classes, and there were quite a few bits and pieces left. I'll just show you a couple. So you can see out of these, I don't know, just a few pieces, you can still make a lot of jewelry. Because let me just take this one for example. So we can fit a pendant, you can easily fit earrings, or you can just fit 2 rings in there. Let me just have a look. There we go. So you could easily fit 3 pieces of jewelry into this teeny tiny bit of scrap metal that you've got left over. So then what I normally do is, once I've sort of measured, I'll pop it down, I'll press it down with my finger, and then just taking one of your embossing tools or a sharp tip tool, just hold down your blank, trace around it to get the shape, and then I use my cutting tool. And what I normally do is I just dip it into a teeny tiny bit of oil, just to ensure that my blade is protected and that it glides over the metal easier. So, and I also normally cut on the back of my cutting mat so that I don't have any grooves running on the front part of my cutting mat, because that would transfer onto my metal. Okay, so then you would just cut it out. And then once you've cut it out, I just stick it down with a teeny tiny bit of contact adhesive. So just a little amount, because you don't want your glue seeping, you know, out of the edges and things. So once that's dry, oh, the other thing I wanted to show you is, once I stuck my metal down into my little blank, I just take a paper pencil and just make sure I flatten it. And sometimes, depending on how you cut it, you might be left over with like a little rim. So that might not be a problem, or if you don't like it, there's 2 ways of doing it. If you have a little bit of a rim going on, you can try and flatten it into, basically into the border of this pendant. The alternative would be to do like I did on this one. So once I stuck it down and there was a little bit of excess, then I took my cutting tool and I just cut around the edges, just to make sure it doesn't curl up anywhere. So that is entirely up to you. So then once that's done, you mix your resin. So there are many resin products on the market. These are the latest ones that I just found from my local hardware store. So this specific one, you use 4 parts of part A to 1 part of part B. It depends. Some of them are a 50-50 mix. Some of them are like this one, a 4-to-1 ratio. So just make sure what you buy and then check the instructions before you start mixing. Make sure you've got the correct ratio, and you have to measure quite precisely. This is quite a finicky product to work with, so you need precise measurements. Okay, so then what I do is I normally just mix it in a little mixing cup like this, and you can either take just a wooden stick to mix it, or you can take, you know, like those ice cream sticks to mix it. And also read your instructions well on your resin, because some of them have a specific time that you have to mix them for, to make sure that the resin activates. So that can differ between 2 to 4 minutes, depending on the product that you've got. So just don't mix very quickly, because you'll end up with a lot of bubbles inside your mix, and they can be quite tricky to get rid of. So just stir, making sure that you you know, you mix your product well. And when you look at it, it should be well mixed. You shouldn't be able to see any layers of separation when it's mixed. So then after I've done that, so now we've stuck down our metal into our little jewelry blank, and then you just pour a little bit in the center and you'll see it'll spread out by itself. Normally the resins are self-leveling, and in this case less is more. If you pour in too much, it'll be a massive mess. The stuff is very sticky and very hard to clean up, especially when it's wet. So start with a little bit. So normally I'd say if you've got a circle, pour in about 2/3 of your surface and then let it spread by itself. You can also take one of your sticks and just sort of push it into the edges, but eventually it'll spread out by itself. And you want to make sure that when it's dry, it is level with your surface. Okay, so the other tip is when you work with resin, because it's quite fiddly, make sure you've got at least 10 jewelry pieces that you want to fill at once. So make them, get them done, get them ready, and then so for about 10 of these, it only takes about half a measuring cup of resin to cover all of them. So I'd rather have them ready and do a couple at a time. So then the other thing is, because as you mix, it doesn't matter how careful you are when you're mixing it, you will end up with bubbles in your resin. So you'll see when you pour it, there will be some bubbles on your surface. So the easiest way to get rid of those is to use just a fire lighter. You can also use one of these butane burners. This one particularly is a heavy duty one. It's it's quite vicious, so I prefer not to use that when I do these. So what you do is, once you've got your resin poured over, you just go like this over the surface, and as the flames and the heat get close to the resin, the bubbles will pop. You'll see that. However, you need to keep an eye on this product. If you look closely at this one, I've made all of these together and I flamed them before I let them dry. However, on this one, some bubbles started forming even after I flamed them out. So you need to keep an eye on these products. So for at least the first 2 hours, just come and have a look at them, check them to see if any bubbles have formed. And within the first 2 to 3 hours, you will still be able to remove them just by keeping your flames close to the surface. So yeah, you don't want this happening. The other key thing to remember is that once you've covered them with your resin and the resin is still wet, just pop maybe like a Tupperware cake lid or something over them. You don't want any dust particles or pet hair or anything floating around, because once it's set in your resin, that's it. You won't be able to get rid of it. Okay, so I really hope that helped you and that it inspired you to make some things. Yeah, I mean, if you have a look at this one, you can get quite a lot of jewelry pieces going just from this one piece. So there's 5 already. We could still fit in 2 earrings if we place it correctly. So yeah, have fun with this. And if you guys make any, please share your pictures. I'd love to see them. Yeah, and let us know which resin you use. I'd love to get some feedback from you. Have a good weekend, you guys.